The job market is tough, but agreeing to work for their own company will lead you to wasting time, not making money, damaging your CV, and starting the job search all over again from a worse starting point. I started working in tech at 18, as soon as I could work legally. And it got me places, for sure. By 21, I was already head of content and financially capable to move to Spain by myself. At 22, I got my dream PM job, but I also made a lot of mistakes, main one being accepting the job offers from the wrong companies. That is why I'm at a list of 7 red flags that you can clearly see even during the hiring process. And I've also added 3 bonus tips at the end. This is a video I wish I have watched 5 years ago at the start of my career, and I really hope that you get the value out of it too. First red flag is the company's mistakes that they are usually really good at covering up. They are late to your interviews or skip them entirely. It happens much more often than you might believe. Usually immediately after it happens, you reach out to them. You say, hey, I assume it means I'm out of the process, or you give them the benefit of the doubt and double check what happened. If they're still interested in you, which is the most common scenario, they will clean it up professionally. The recruiter will say, we are so sorry, I have scheduled this meeting without notifying the hiring manager, or they can say someone got sick and I forgot to notify you about it. Whatever the excuse may be, they will say, I'm so sorry, can we reschedule? Your response to this should be no, immediately. If you want to practice self-presentation and interview skills, go ahead, accept the interview invite, chat with them, but do not even consider accepting the offer from a company like this. Obviously, we all make mistakes, we are all humans, and it can be very convincing when they say it usually never happens, it was just this once, and we are very sorry about it. However, what is usually going on behind the scenes is that they have no system in place. If they can miss an interview with a potential hire, it's only a small part of the big problem. It means the team is working under pressure, constantly overwhelmed, overworked, they have jumps and changes in the processes much more often than necessary, and their management is very likely not doing a good job. Meaning your work will be constantly putting out fires that could only be fixed with a global change. The second red flag is when on the company's website, the same job posts are constantly reopened or even never closing. This means that people are coming and going and never stay for a long time. When you're applying for jobs, you usually check the same websites on a regular basis. If you see a certain company posting the same job post over and over again, typically for months, it can never be a good sign. It means they're hiring new people are not getting integrated properly, and they have to quit or be fired very soon after. This means the company does not have a settled process of hiring candidates, they don't know who is actually fit for them, and they're kind of testing with every new person. So the job offer is not a guarantee that you will have this job and you will stay in the company. Sometimes it's so obvious in the companies that I have no idea how I managed to ignore it, but here we are. I once accepted an offer from a company who had a history of the whole department leaving at the same time. It was a recruiting department specifically. They were tired of rehiring people for the same positions over and over again because people never stayed for a long time, and they had to start the process with every position over and over again. This company was also very open about the fact that certain types of people do not stay for a long time, so they just don't hire them. They were talking about management positions. They said 90% of our managers are people who grew up in the company, so that they already know our culture. I thought I don't fit into this category. I was 19 at the time. I did not have as much experience. But it turned out the reason was not having too much experience or being a manager. It was just you're not allowed to have an opinion. You're only allowed to listen what people tell you and follow the instruction. They were basically just raising children without opinions. No hate to those children, but I'm not a person like this. And I believe that if someone is hiring me as a specialist, I would like to be listened to because they hired me for a reason. Also, if I look at the Instagram of this company now, I can see that people on the pictures are always changing. So it can be a trick to check as well. You can go onto a company's social media, check the pictures, and if you see that every other month the team looks completely different, it's a problem. You should be very careful who you're talking to. The third red flag is when the company has rapidly grown in size. If they went from 20 people to 60 people in 1 month, there is no way they can have a proper system in place of how to manage all those new hires. They will expect you to perform really high because now they need to maintain a bigger company, but there is absolutely no way they can give you everything you need to perform as high as they expect you to. It can sound really good on paper when you're interviewing with them. They will tell you, we are growing really fast, we have hired this many people, we have grown 3 times recently. But if you think about it for a second, they don't have a system to manage it yet. Maybe they will get there eventually, but in the meantime you will be working under insane pressure. If the company is growing so much, it also has to pay more salaries, pay for more tools. They might need a bigger office if it's an on-site job, so they need to make much more money than they used to. They might be blaming employees for not achieving certain results. They might not be able to support you by providing a proper system. Accepting an offer from such a company can be either the best or the worst decision you will ever make in your whole career. If you get hired at an early stage to a company that will become a great company to work in, you will likely have a really high position after, and you will make a lot of money with them, and you will have a lot of experience. However, if it doesn't work out for the company, you will be under a lot of stress and it's not going to pay off. The fourth red flag is a change in the usual hiring process for you. This point includes coming up with the roles that did not exist before, removing some interviews or steps of the hiring process, giving you extra benefits if you join the company, and anything similar to this that you might encounter in the interviewing process. I've been in this trap twice. First time was when I was hired into a company without a probation period that they normally always have. Apparently, they believed that if they give me a probation, I will not accept the offer. Also, it was the CEO himself who hired me like this, and the recruiter and the HR did not even know that I'm not on probation, and they did not have this option available in the system. And let's just say it did not end well, and it ended very soon. And the second case was when the company came up with roles that they did not intend to hire for. It was a startup at a very beginner stage. I was the first person they hired, and they hired me to be a content manager, which they were not looking for. They hired me as a content manager, then they started hiring more content managers, and I became a head of content. But as soon as the startup hit first challenge, the content team was the first to be laid off. My team, they were always really happy with our performance, and literally 1 week they said they are extremely happy with our performance, they have never seen a content team this efficient, no one in the industry can produce this much content of such a high quality. And the next week, when they had the first problems with the client, they let go the whole team with no notice. It happened because they initially did not plan to have a content team. They were paying salaries and tools that they were not planning to spend on, and content was not the primary driver of results. I would say this was the most interesting experience in my entire career. I did end up with no job 1 week after I moved to a new country, so I had a very challenging life stage after this. But was it worth it? Yes, of course. Was it the most stressful experience of my career? Also yes. So there's always two sides of every situation, and the risk is yours to take if you want. The fifth red flag, and the most dangerous one, is when you don't connect with your hiring manager. It is probably the most important part of the whole hiring process, because the manager can either make or break your career. You can work at the worst company in the world, but if you have a good manager, you'll be protected from all the mess that's going on outside of your team. You can be there for years if your manager can handle all the pressure, of course, and you won't even know that something's going wrong in the company. However, if you work in a really good company but you have a really bad manager, all your growth will be blocked by them. They will not be giving you promotions, they will not support any of your initiatives, they will not encourage good results, you will be blamed for every small mistake. You will never be good enough. So your every growth opportunity in this place will be fully blocked. I had jobs before in not horrible but objectively not great companies, but because I had good managers, I was in a really good position. I could grow, I could learn from them, I was respected, I had good connections with the team, and all thanks to good managers. My current job is the most stable position I've had, and a lot of it thanks to my manager. She's very helpful, very understanding, very human-to-human connection. She explains very well what's going on, what we can do better, how we can achieve better results. She helps me learn more technical skills, and if there's any mistake, she's very constructive about them, because it's important as well. You will make mistakes for sure, and you need to receive constructive feedback to know how you can do better next time. So your manager is really important, and sometimes even the most important part of working in a company. And if you don't connect with the person who will potentially be your manager even during interviewing process, this is doomed. You should not be working with them. Sixth red flag is when the list of values includes going the extra mile, being fully dedicated, and treating the company like family. This is classic, and it usually means uncompensated extra hours, being manipulated into work outside of your responsibilities that you do not even enjoy. If you just do your job properly, it will not be enough because you're supposed to stay longer, come up with new ideas all the time. The company is basically trying to pay you as little as possible for the biggest possible outcome. They will not treat you well, but they will expect the results from your ambition, dedication. They will expect you to treat their business like your own, even though you don't make nearly enough to compensate for all this dedication. Bonus tip number 1. If you see the good opportunities that you can get insane experience from a certain company, you can still accept the offer, even if they check all the red flag boxes. Just make sure you're at a stage of life where you can afford losing your job abruptly. I have accepted offers that cost me a lot of stress, time, and I was not in a position to lose a job. However, I have got experience that puts me ahead of probably 90% of people my age. Those offers allowed me to have jumps in my career that most people don't reach until a certain age. They were very stressful, but they were faster and they were a shortcut to higher results in shorter time. Bonus tip number 2. If you accept an offer like that, treat it as play and do whatever you want. We are normally very careful when communicating with companies and when we really want to secure a certain position. When you are talking to a clearly toxic workplace, you can take all the risks that you normally wouldn't go for. You should not be scared to lose a job in a toxic environment, so at least practice your confidence and try to get as much as you can out of this place. If you're planning to get traumatized, at least do it for a lot of money. That is a tip I didn't have, and I could have made so much more money if someone said this to me 5 years ago. Bonus tip number 3. The final and probably most important tip. Don't judge yourself for every mistake. You will make a lot of mistakes, you will make bad decisions. It's unavoidable, it's the only way to progress. The only people who are doing everything perfectly are people who are not doing anything with their life. Mistakes are good, you're learning faster, you're having more meaningful experiences. And next time you will know how to make it better. So the next time you go into a job interview, remember that it's not only them interviewing you, but also you interviewing them and seeing if it's a good place for you to work. Have your standards, pay attention to detail, make sure you're saving yourself from horrible experiences, and that your future company will guarantee you happier life and not more stress. If you want to hear more stories about work in tech and intentionally building a life in Spain, subscribe not to miss my new videos, and see you back here next week.